Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to today's forum on climate change. I'm MEGAT Muhammad Iqbal, and I will be your moderator for this important discussion. Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is happening now, affecting our weather, communities, energy systems, and food production. In today's discussion, we will explore its real-world impacts, as well as the strategies we can use to counter these challenges. Before we begin, let's establish a few ground rules. Respect all viewpoints and maintain a constructive dialogue. Keep questions concise and relevant. And we encourage a fact-based discussion and will address any misinformation if needed. Now, let's meet our esteemed panelists. We have a distinguished panel with us today. First and foremost, we have Mr. AMMAR HASEEF bin Muhammad Abdullah, a meteorologist with expertise in climate trends. We have Mr. Muhammad FARIS Danial bin AZMI, a journalist covering environmental and social issues. And we have Mr. Muhammad AMIRUL ADLI, a climate scientist specializing in energy and water sources. And we have Mr. ARIFF bin Muhammad SHUHADA, an expert on sustainable farming and food security. So let's begin our discussion by understanding how climate change is affecting global weather patterns. So my first question to our first panelist, Mr. AMMAR HASEEF. Weather patterns have become more extreme in recent years. From your perspective as a weather reporter, how has global temperature rise affected weather patterns and what trends are we seeing? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Magat. So, this mitigation has increased the global temperature. As the global temperature rise, we are witnessing more frequent and severe weather events. Hot days are becoming more common, and we are seeing less snow cover in the northern hemisphere. There's also a disturbing increase in rainstorms and habitat changes for plants and animals. So I want to share about this figure, which you can see more specifically. So, okay, okay, as you can see, uh, as you can see, you can see that the top one represent 1901 to 2023, which represent the long-term trend in global temperature changes from the rest of the year. The color gradient from yellow to dark red indicate the change in temperature per decade, where lighter shades represent less warming and darker shades show greater warming. And the bottom map, zoom it. Okay, the bottom map shows that there are more recent and uh, faster warming in recent years. So, uh, according to Rebecca Lindsay, both ocean and land temperature increase at an average of 0.11 degree Fahrenheit, which is 0.06 degrees Celsius per decade since 1850, my bad, or about 2 degree Fahrenheit in total. The rate of the rate of warming since 1982 is more than 3 times as fast 0.36 degree Fahrenheit, which is 0.20 degrees Celsius per decade. So the next point is the climate change leads to increasing global temperature. My bad. The increasing global temperature will cause extreme weather and natural disaster. According to Rebecca Lindsay, this issue will lead to hot days and more unpredictable weather in the future. So that's all from me.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Ahmad, for your insightful points. So we've discussed how rising global temperatures are leading to more extreme weather events. From your perspective, Mr. Ahmad, what early warning systems or disaster preparedness strategies can communities adopt to minimize the risk of extreme weather caused by climate change?
Alright, so for early warning systems, we need to have the weather forecasting and alerts to warn the citizen for incoming disasters such as floods, storms, and heat waves. Other than that, we can use satellite monitoring that is that will tracking cyclones, wildfires, and changing weather patterns. Uh, we also can use we can use we can the government also can plan their infrastructure and urban planning that can defend our food bank. So it is because when we are facing the disaster, we will we will we will short in food and many other things. Yeah, so that's all for me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ahmad. So we move on to the next question. So this next question is for our journalist, Mr. Muhammad Faris, Daniel. Climate change doesn't just affect the environment, it impacts people, especially children. As a journalist covering this issue, what are some of the most pressing ways climate change is affecting children's health, education, and future? Please.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moderator. First and foremost, I would like to appreciate Mr. Moderator for having me in this forum. So now I'm going to share with you regarding the health of the children. So the impact of climate change towards children is it can cause heat stress to them. Increasing global temperature are putting children at greater risk of heat stress. A 2021 UNICEF report predicts that by 2050, almost 2.2 billion children globally will be exposed to frequent heat wave, compared to only 24% in the year 2020. So, infants and children are more likely to be affected by the heat stress due to their different physiological characteristics compared to us adults. According to an article, Moist Heat Stress, written by Buzan and Huber, which is published in 2020, they said that younger children have greater body surface area. This can lead to more absorption of heat from the environment. Children also has low level of sweat production compared to adults due to their low sweat rate per gland. This will cause them to sweat even more in a higher temperature. Infants have underdeveloped bodily system. This will make them incapable to fighting off the symptoms that they might get due to their low immune system. So next is regarding the risk of children's health. According to an article of UNICEF in 2021, climate change increases the infectious diseases. For example, floods pose a threat by contaminating the water supplies, and this can cause dangerous organisms such as mosquito to breed in them. This problem will cause dangerous diseases such as dengue and typhoid to be affected by younger children. Other than that, I would also like to share with you regarding the air pollution. So, a health problem regarding of air pollution is children are more affected by them compared to adults. This is because they breathe even faster than us. Their bodies, like their lungs and brain, are still developing. Therefore, air pollution can cause serious problems for children, like infections, cancer development, and even worse, it can lead to death. So, Regarding the education, I would like to share with you. Natural disasters such as hurricane, floods, and wildfire will cause a school to be closed. This will make the study to be extended in a longer period. This will cause their delay on their study, which will extend their year of study. So that's it for me regarding the education and the health of children.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Faris, for a very detailed explanation. So we've heard about how climate change disproportionately affects children, especially in terms of health, education, and displacement. So what policies or initiatives have you seen that effectively protect children from these impacts? And how can governments and communities step up their efforts?
All right. I haven't seen any policies regarding the children health, but what I can give with you, what I can share with you is how the government can improve can reduce the impact of climate change towards children. So for me, I believe that raising awareness and education is important, and the government should highlight this. So by teaching the importance of sustainable practices and climate action at school and in communities. For example, uh, they should encourage simple action like reducing energy use, conserving water, and recycle. By doing so, I think that this will change their habits and make them able to adapt with a healthier lifestyle. So that's it for me.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Faris. So now we move on to our next question. This question is for our climatologist, Mr. AMIRUL. Malaysia relies on hydropower as a key energy source. How is climate change affecting Malaysia's hydropower system, and what challenges does this pose for the country's energy security? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Megat, for the opportunity. As a climatologist, right now I'm doing a specific research about the potential impact of climate change on hydropower system in Malaysia. This research is important because hydropower can contributing about 80% of the overall renewable electricity generated. To be more specific, this amount can turn on the electricity for one state in Malaysia. Until now, I have found two main points about this aspect. First of all, we assume that in a few decades, the maximum temperature in Malaysia will increase around 7 degrees Celsius. By that, increased temperature will affect the effectiveness and reduce the energy produced by the hydropower plant. This is because of due to the higher evaporation rate from the surface of the reservoir as a water supply. By that time, amount of water supply will decrease. The same thing for energy produced because it will depend on the water capacity. The second point is precipitation effect on the hydropower system. Also, we estimate by the end of 21st century, the rainfall will increase by around 20%. Unfortunately, this will give direct positive impact on power generation because a lot amount of water can be collected in the reservoir, and at the same time will increase stream flow to operate the turbine into their maximum potential. I think that's all for me. Any question, Mr. Megat?
Oh, thank you for the explanation. So I have another question for Mr. AMIRUL. Um, Malaysia's hydropower system is being affected by changing rainfall patterns and extreme weather. What strategies can Malaysia implement to make its hydropower infrastructure more resilient? And should we be looking at alternative renewable energy sources as well?
Thank you, Mr. Megat. To strengthen Malaysia's hydropower system against changing rainfall and extreme weather, the country can improve water management, upgrade dam infrastructure, and use pump storage to balance energy supply. At the same time, investing in solar, wind, biomass, and tidal energy will reduce reliance on hydropower and create a more stable and resilient renewable energy system. I think that's all for the answer. I will pass back to the moderator again.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. AMIRUL. So, we move on to our next and final question to our agriculture engineer. So, Mr. Arif, agriculture is highly vulnerable to climate change from an agriculture engineering perspective. How is climate change affecting crop yields, soil health, and farming practices?
So thank you, Mr. Megat. So how it's affected the agriculture is because about biotic stress and abiotic stress. Do you know, Mr. Megat, about biotic and abiotic before this?
I haven't heard of it before, but sounds interesting.
So I'm here to talk about biotic. Simple thing about biotic and abiotic. First of all, biotic is about the component, living component of an ecosystem. For example, fungi and bacteria. However, for abiotic is non-living component of an ecosystem and it's divided by two, which is physical factor and chemical factors. So today, the main point I am here is I want to talk about abiotic stress and biotic stress. First point is about abiotic stress. How abiotic stress can affect the uh, agriculture. So, so when uncertain weather that extend for a too long, like example a long drought, it can increase the heat stress. So it also decrease the production of the yield. For example, according to Gupta Ritma in 2009, at India, warming temperature have reduced wet yield by 5.2% between 1981 to 2009. Oh, another example, according to article that written by Hussein, Rasul and Mahapatra in 2016, Hindu Kush Himalayan region has experienced in increased condition for the last decade and effect to agriculture yield. So another point for the for how climate change affect agriculture is biotic stress. So for this point, I have two main reasons how biotic stress can affect the agriculture. First of all, pathogen and plant show variable response. And another point is pathogen and plant can adapt very quickly to the climate change. For the first point is pathogen and plant show variable response. It can prove by article written by Velasquez and Kazrovat in 2018. They said that plant have many variability of pattern of immunity to survive from humidity and temperature. Follow the climate change. For the second point, which is pathogen and plant can adapt very quickly. The example is pathogen can reproduction and evolution allow it to respond rapidly to change in their environment in a short time. Is this example at the article that written by Velasquez and Kazrovat in 2018 too. So that's all for me, Mr. Magat.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Arif, for a wonderful explanation about abiotic stress and biotic stress. So, a follow-up question. Agriculture is one of the most vulnerable sectors in climate change. So, what innovative farming techniques or policies can help Malaysian farmers adapt to changing weather patterns and ensure food security?
So I think right now we don't have any policies for this problem, but right now we have AI technologies, so we can use IoT sensors like smart sensors in soil and weather station provide real-time data for decision making. So the farmers are ready to adapt with the climate change. For example, long drought or flood, so they are ready to adapt for this situation. So that's all. Mr. Megat.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Arif. So, staying on the same topic again, I would like to ask our this about another question. What do you think the impact of agriculture has an effect towards children's health?
All right, Mr. Moderator. So, like our friend explained about the abiotic stress, which is about the prolonged drought, I believe that it can also affect the children's health. This is because by drought can cause impact for the food production. This will lead to food insecurity. As a children, good nutrition is really important for their brain development. This is because it can help them with their memory, learning, and also mental health. So, according to DPARTA in 2019, chronic malnutrition in children will lead to irreversible damage, such as stunting, micronutrition, and even worse, death. So, I do believe that the impact on the biotic stress can also affect the children's health. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Faris, for the answering my question. So, so we have had a valuable discussion today covering the impact of climate change on weather, children, energy, and agriculture, as well as the strategies to address these challenges. So before we conclude, I'd like to ask each panelist to share one key takeaway or action point for our audience. So we'll start with Mr. AMMAR.
Right. Sorry, Mr. Megat, can you repeat your question?
Huh? Oh, can I repeat? So before we conclude, I'd like to ask each panelist to share one key takeaway or action point for our audience.
Oh, one key takeaway. So, as you can see, as I mentioned just now, our global temperature is increased. So the one key point that we need to do is to
Is it like what do you think? What do you conclude? What is your conclusion in our
conclusion.
discussion today?
So in our discussion, climate change has various effect on our lifestyle, such as what he said, children's children health, children well-being, and AMIRUL said about the food, the food, the food, uh,
Please continue.
okay, about the food, and Mr. Arif said about the effect on the agriculture. So it connected between our lifestyle. So we need to be aware about our climate, about this mitigation, because it will it will grow and always grow if we keep harm our world. Yeah. So we need to aware of what we are doing that will cause the effect to our world. Okay.
Okay, thank you very
That's
much,
all for
Mr.
me.
Amar. So we move on to the next, Mr. Faris. What can you conclude with our discussion today?
All right. So, climate change poses severe threats to children's health by increasing their risk in respiratory diseases, malnutrition, and mental health. So, as the most vulnerable group, I believe that children will suffer long-term consequences if this action is not taken. So, I can conclude that by protecting their health, it requires a global effort to reduce the emissions. Other than that, we can also improve healthcare access and build climate resilient communities to secure a healthier future for our next generation. So that's it from me. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Faris. So we move on to Mr. AMIRUL. What do you think? What can you conclude with our discussion today? Sorry, Mr. AMIRUL, your microphone.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Megat. I will give a simple conclusion about my topic. Climate change creates a problem and opportunity for Malaysia hydropower system. Increased temperature result in a rise in evaporation, which subsequently diminish the availability of water and energy which can be produced. Furthermore, while higher rainfall can improve power generation, it needs to be managed very well to prevent flooding, which can actually increase power in generation. But it does come with its own set of problems, since hydropower is still one of the main sources of energy of Malaysia. Addressing this impact is very important to ensure energy security for the future. I think that's all from me, Mr. Magat.
Thank you, Mr. AMIRUL. And last but not least, we have Mr. ARIFF. What can you conclude with our discussion today?
So what can I conclude for this discussion is we know that nowadays many people does not alert about the climate change. So we need to raise awareness to the people to give them to be more alert. And other than that, we need to change our lifestyles like Mr. Ammar said before. But I want to put a big point, which is we can reduce food waste and use eco-friendly product. Another that we can encourage city level policies to have car-free zone, so it can prevent the climate change to be happen. So that's all, Mr. Magat.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. ARIFF. So we have reached to the end of our forum. So I would like to say thank you to our fellow panelists for their insights. So as we all can agree, climate change is a challenge we all face. But by staying informed and taking action, we can help build a more resilient future for individually and for our country. So that's all for our forum discussion. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.